Welcome to Visa Spotlight, a podcast by Visa that shines a light on the most exciting developments in the payments landscape right now, while also giving you a glimpse into what the future holds for us all.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Visa Spotlights, our podcast where we explore some of the latest commerce and payments trends across the CEMEA region. Today we're going to be taking a closer look at North Africa, Levant and Pakistan, an incredibly exciting, high-growing, thriving and dynamic region, which also spans a vast geography of over 7,000 kilometres. Visa serves more than 15 markets across North Africa, Levant and Pakistan from our 5 offices in Casablanca, Cairo, Amman, Beirut and Karachi. To look more at the region, I'm joined today by Leila Serhan, Senior Vice President and Group Country Manager for Visa across North Africa, Levant and Pakistan. Leila, thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you, Dan, for having me.
Great. So perhaps we could start and understand a bit more on some of the payments, trends and dynamics you're seeing across NALP.
Yeah, I think, as you said, this is a very exciting region. And like many of the regions that we see across CEMEA, North Africa, Levant and Pakistan is really in a phase of transformation, right? So obviously, digital is big. And yes, there was the impact of the pandemic and people staying at home and doing a little bit more of online commerce, but we've also seen digital becoming also big in the daily lives of consumers. Just to give you an idea, in 2022, maybe 1/3 of transactions were contactless. Today, 2/3 of transactions are currently contactless. So it's really a reflection of how people are adopting digital technology in the payment space. So this is the first one. The second one is North Africa, Levant and Pakistan, or NALP for short, is also a place where we see a lot of build up on the infrastructure, right? And it's really about building up the infrastructure so that the payment and the digital payment grow. Some of the things that we're seeing there is obviously the untapped opportunity in terms of acceptance. And we've been having a lot of focus on places like Egypt, Iraq, and Pakistan to really build this infrastructure that is going to bring digital payments. So whether it's enabling online commerce for existing physical stores, but also bringing more and more acceptance points to more and more businesses to allow them to accept digital payments. And here, the good thing is that in some places, we're really leapfrogging the technology and bringing things like tap to phone to many of these businesses. We have a big ambition, for example, in Marrakesh, in Morocco, to make the Medina of Marrakesh completely cashless. And only with technologies like tap to phone, we will be able to realize this dream. So really building this infrastructure for growth. But the third super exciting trend that we're seeing is obviously this young population that we have across this region. So just to give you some numbers, I think in Egypt, 40% of the population is actually Gen Z. In Iraq, more than half the population is under the age of 25. And Pakistan is actually the 3rd largest country in terms of population of Gen Z. They are like 67 million Gen Zers in Pakistan. And Gen Z are really changing the way many businesses look at their go-to-market, and it's the same for Visa. Some of the things that we learn from Gen Z is how they shop. I mean, I have one Gen Z and one Gen Alpha at home, and I can tell you their shopping experience is very, very different. Yep. They took me on an adventure this summer, and we went to see Taylor Swift. I'm now a hardcore Swiftie. What was super interesting is how much they knew online before we got there, right? And of course, we spend a lot of money on merchandise, on Swifties merch, but they knew exactly what was available. So those Gen Z are really the reflection of this phygital world that we talk about. So they're very much digital, but they use the digital to also do their physical purchases. So all of these trends are super important for us and for our clients to be able to address the amazing opportunity that this young population will bring in the future.
Yeah. I mean, it's a huge time of transformation, as you were just saying. We've both spoken about how the region is young, it's dynamic, it's rapidly growing. I know you are a native of the region as well, and you've been working across North Africa, Levant and Pakistan throughout your career. What are some of your perspectives on the changes and the pace of progress that you've seen over that time?
Oh, definitely the transformation, the technology transformation is super important. And it's a priority for whether it's government or businesses, right? And so we see a lot of governments really putting many of their vision, many of their efforts behind actually bringing digital to everything. So this is, I would say this is definitely an area where we as Visa have been also working closely. If you remember back in 2018, we've released this roadmap for enabling digital commerce, or what we call EDCR, right? Yep. And it's really how do we help the entire ecosystem of payments to get ready over multiple years, right? And it's really multi-year plans. It's not something, it's not a campaign that you do for 3 months. It's really a 5-year plan on how we enable the ecosystem for the future of digital payments, and even for things that we don't know if they're going to come or not. And now we just released the second version of EDCR, again, to help the entire ecosystem, whether these are issuers or acquirers, to actually tap into and get ready into the future of what commerce and digital payments will look like.
Fantastic. So I spoke earlier about the vast geographic landscape and how long it takes to travel from one side of the region to the other. Where do you see some of the similarities and differences across the region? And how is Visa helping support clients, whether they are financial institutions or merchants or government partners, in terms of being able to address those?
Yeah, it's a very, very diverse region. I mean, obviously, like you said, it spans across 7,000 kilometers, but 6 or 7 time zones, depending if you're in the summer or in the winter, different weekends, all of this. So, and languages are also very, very different. So I think one of the things that I realized when I joined Visa is, yes, Visa is a global company, but payments is so hyper-local. Many of those markets are at a different stage of maturity in terms of their infrastructure, in terms of their digital adoption, in terms of the banked population or the included population into the financial services world. So you see many differences around this. You go to a country like Pakistan, for example, where 50% of people of mobile users actually have feature phones. So how do you bring something like, a tap to pay solution to a feature phone? And you need to be so relevant in how you design the products and the solutions that we want to put in the hands of consumers to actually cater for the exact needs that they have. You go to Morocco, which is much more, I would say, digitally savvy, where we launched Apple Pay last year, and it's been an amazing adoption of this kind of payment mechanism. It's different than what do you do in Morocco to help, for example, protect the provisioning of Apple Pay, protect those transactions, increase awareness among merchants that their POS machine today can actually accept a tap to phone kind of payment. So yeah, it's very different. And I think one of the things that we do very well is, like you said, we have 5 offices, but we also have people that are sitting in places where we don't have offices, like in Libya, like in Tunisia, like in Iraq, because it's important that we're close to what's happening on the ground. And I think that's really giving us a big edge in terms of responding to the needs of consumers.
Absolutely. I mean, as you said, payments is inherently a local business because that's where all of the commerce is being done.
Yes.
So we spoke about some of the differences across the region, and I'd like to look at one of the commonalities, which is the importance of small businesses across North Africa, Levant and Pakistan, which I think across that region and perhaps globally, SMBs are really the spine and the backbone of the economies in which we operate. What are some of the efforts which you have underway and which you're really focused on to support those small businesses across the region?
I mean, I spoke earlier about the effort we're doing on acceptance. And I think we're doing this because we heard from those small businesses what they need. And what we understand is that they definitely want a better way to get paid and a better way to also pay. And some of the things that we have been seeing is, I mean, we're not going to debate why small businesses are important.
Yep.
I mean, they represent probably 90 to 95% of the economy, especially in this region. But one of the things that we heard from them is also that they are looking for maybe better access to finance, right? The same way we see a big portion of the population that is unbanked, but also those SMEs are widely underserved from a financial services perspective. So a lot of the work that we do with our partners, and here we partner also a lot with governments because this is also a big agenda item on the governments across NALP. The work that we do with our partners is how do we tailor products that actually respond to the needs of those small and medium enterprises? How do we help them, for example, how do we help some banks be more comfortable providing credit to those SMEs? The minute you start digitizing the way SMEs get paid, then you create data. And with data, you're able to create a credit score. And with this credit score, our partners and our partner banks are able to avail financing to those SMEs. And I think this has been super, super powerful. And the other area we're seeing as well is that even in typical SME financing, and even if that SME is banked, it's the way they are being served has not changed. Versus when we are dealing with individuals, yes, there's more digital innovation. We're providing a better experience on the mobile banking apps, more innovation, more features, more APIs, which has not happened on the SME side. So we're also trying to transform the way those SMEs are being served, working hand in hand with our partners. The other area that is, so that's really working with banks, but at a more national level, I would say, we've been working with startups in this region through different initiatives. I mean, 3 initiatives that are very well known to Visa, but the Visa Everywhere initiative. So we've had it in Egypt a couple of years ago. This year we had for the first time a Levant version that we did in Jordan, and we're actually very proud that the CEMEA winner, who was a gaming company, was the winner of the Levant edition, and it's a gaming company from Jordan.
That's
fantastic guys, and so young and really transforming the way people do gaming all across the region. So this is the Visa Everywhere initiative. The other one is obviously the FinTech Accelerator for Africa, which is really addressing the North Africa part of NALP. And here, the first cohort, we had representation from Egypt, from Morocco, from Tunisia, the second cohort as well. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the demo day later this year, but also recruiting the third cohort of this FinTech Accelerator. And what we've seen in this FinTech Accelerator is not only us getting exposed to what those fintechs are building, but also seeing them collaborating together and forging partnerships. I mean, that was pretty amazing. I know very well a Moroccan fintech is actually working very closely with a Tunisian fintech, and that Tunisian fintech is going to actually enable the tap-to-phone capabilities for this Moroccan fintech. So this is great. And one that is super dear to my heart is She's Next. I think we've been very consistent in running She's Next across many of our markets. Last year, we did for the first time the Pakistan version of She's Next. And just the number of applications that are coming. I mean, in Egypt, the first version of She's Next, we had 400. The third version, we had 4,000 applications. Yeah. And it's really about going and empowering those women entrepreneurs, whether they're working at home or they have a small business, and how we help them grow. And the thing that we've done beyond just the She's Next competition is really created this She's Next club. We've just finished the first round in Pakistan, where we had more than I think almost 120 participants across 5 cities. And some of the feedback we hear is heartwarming. Is women saying, this is such a fantastic platform, talking to someone, feeling that you're not alone. Because networking was also one of the pain points that we heard from many of these women entrepreneurs.
And I think, as you said, we see that across startups, within fintechs, we see it within wider SMBs, and particularly women entrepreneurs. And we've met some fantastic women-run businesses and fintechs through the programs which you mentioned, which are great. We've spent a lot of time talking about the impact of payments on businesses. Could you share some perspective on how you see sort of wider financial inclusion across the region? Because I know there's still some way to go in terms of ensuring the benefits of digital payments are reached by all consumers and citizens as well.
Well, financial inclusion is probably at the heart of what we need to do across North Africa, Levant and Pakistan. And again, I go back to this, it's about being relevant, but it's also about providing the right products to the right segments of people. Some of the things that we do is actually working very closely with fintechs, right? We have fantastic partnerships with some of the MNOs in the region, some of the big fintechs in Pakistan, for example. Whereas the products that they provide is probably the first touch point for an individual with dealing with digital payments. And while it starts only with payments, I think our objective is really how do we increase that spectrum of products and offerings that those players can give, so that more and more people are financially included. And it also includes a lot of awareness, right? So from a financial inclusion perspective, I think one of the things that we've done is really partnering with, whether it's central banks or governments or even players, right? We've partners with Daraz, for example, in Pakistan, to provide financial education courses to thousands and thousands of sellers that are on the Daraz marketplace. We've partnered with Al Barid Bank in Morocco, also to provide financial education to thousands and thousands of artisans that sits at home, those ladies that do arts and craft at home, to help them how to better manage their money, how to manage their stock, how to actually sell online as well through some of the partners that we have. I mean, actually one of the She's Next winners that manages this platform to help them sell all across the globe some of the products that they do. So it is really a very, very big focus for us all across the region.
And I think the Stay Secure campaign that we've also had across the region is crucially important in terms of helping people understand some of the challenges and the watch outs to be able to make digital payments safely as well.
Yes, I mean, Stay Secure, I think, was an eye opener for many of us, right? I mean, a lot of people said, "No, I know if I'm scammed, but I got scammed." Yeah.
And I almost got scammed last week as well. So I've got sort of enough time for one last question, and I think it would be remiss if I didn't sort of build on the point around partnerships and get your perspective in terms of how you see partnerships across the region, both private sector and public sector as well, in terms of sort of accelerating the growth journey that's underway.
I mean, I think a lot of what we do when we want to build those partnerships is actually really addressing needs that we see across the different markets, right? So we know that some of our markets, for example, are huge remittance corridors. If you think of Pakistan or Egypt, there's a lot of remittance that comes into these countries, and this is it's a big portion of the economy of the country, right? A lot of people in those countries actually live out of what their families send back home, and for this, we've built a partnership, for example, with the Egyptian Banking Corporation in Egypt, where we are enabling those remittances to the last mile to their consumers through the real-time payment system. We're doing in Pakistan, we're enabling one link, which is the switch, the local switch, to actually also bring alias directory to them, so that it's much easier for people to send money back home and for people to receive money. So those two are being built right now. But also thinking of that digitization effort that we're doing. Some of the things that we're doing as well with the Central Bank of Egypt is how we're helping them on deploying tokenization across. And I think this is going to be super important for the future of digital payments and bringing more and more security and better solutions and better user experience. And thinking about the youth. I think the youth, we talked a lot about how young the population is. We've signed recently with Al Barid Bank and the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Entrepreneurship, I believe in Morocco, a kind of a partnership, a three-party partnership to actually help youth in their financial inclusion when they get out of university, have their first job and are going to open their first bank account. What kind of products we should put in their hands, what kind of solutions, financial solutions we should provide them. So we're working closely on this one as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you, Dan.
It's obviously an incredibly exciting time of progress and opportunity across North Africa, Levant and Pakistan, and some fantastic programs underway. So it's great to hear more about them. Thank you so much for joining us today. Hope you've enjoyed this discussion and look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.